My daughter said my grandson's graduation was parents only, then the school mailed me a pass marked speaker. At 8:12 on the morning of my grandson's graduation, I opened an envelope from his high school and found a red parking pass with one word printed beneath my name, speaker. Below it were three instructions: north entrance, sound check at 4:45 p.m. Arrival required no later than 6. My daughter Laura had told me the ceremony was parents only. I was 65, recently retired from the garage, and very much healthy enough to sit in an auditorium. She said renovation work had reduced the auditorium capacity and each graduate could bring just 2 guests. She promised to send me the video afterward. I had believed her because she was Caleb's mother, and because asking whether she was sure would have sounded like I thought my disappointment mattered more than the school's rules. Now I was holding an official pass that did not merely invite me into the building. It expected me on the stage. If grandparents were not allowed, why was the school waiting for me to give a speech, and why had my daughter made certain I would stay home? I called the number printed at the bottom of the pass. Westfield High School, a woman answered. This is Denise. My name is Frank Dalton. I received a speaker pass for tonight, but I think there may have been a mistake. There was a brief pause, followed by the clicking of a keyboard. Mr. Dalton, Principal Henderson's office has been trying to confirm your sound check. Trying how? The email listed on the nomination form. What email is that? She read Laura's address. My daughter had received every message. Is the speech still on the program? I asked. Yes, sir. You're scheduled immediately after the student address. I looked at the pass again. Who nominated me? Your grandson. That answer turned the confusion into a choice. I could call Laura and let her explain the pass away before I saw anything else, or I could ask the school why Caleb had wanted me there. I'm coming to the office, I said. Please don't remove my name until I understand what happened. By 8:55, I was standing in the school lobby with the red pass clipped to my shirt. Denise handed me a draft of the printed program. Between the salutatorian's remarks and the presentation of diplomas was a line that read, Frank Dalton, Lessons from a Working Life. Beside it, in blue ink, somebody had written, Cancel, Health Reasons. Who told you I was sick? I asked. Denise hesitated. The email came from the contact address on the nomination, Laura's address. I am not sick. I'm glad to hear that. She called the guidance counselor, Mrs. Alvarez, who met me in the lobby carrying a yellow folder. Caleb submitted your name 6 weeks ago, she said. Every senior was asked to nominate someone whose life taught them something they could not learn from a textbook. The faculty selected his essay. Why didn't anyone call me? We sent the invitation to the family contact he provided. Yesterday we received a response saying you had been advised not to attend. Did Caleb know the speech was canceled? Her expression told me the answer before she spoke. He asked this morning whether your pass had arrived. I took out my phone and called him. It went to voicemail. Caleb, I have the pass. I'm at your school. Call me before anyone else answers for either of us. Mrs. Alvarez opened the yellow folder and showed me Caleb's nomination essay. The first page described the garage where I had worked for 42 years. It mentioned the battered radio above my workbench, the coffee I forgot to drink, and the way I made him explain a problem before I let him touch a tool. The final paragraph had been removed. Where is the rest? I asked. This is the version approved by the faculty. Was there another version? Before she could answer, the front doors opened. Laura walked into the lobby. She was 41, still wearing the blue blouse she used for important meetings, and the expression she had inherited from me, the one that said a decision had already been made and discussion was only a courtesy. Her eyes moved from my face to the red pass. Dad, you can't give that speech. Good morning to you, too. I called your house twice. After I left you a message saying I was coming here, this is not about excluding you. I held up the pass. You told me I wasn't allowed in the building. Laura glanced at Mrs. Alvarez. Could we speak privately? Mrs. Alvarez offered us an empty conference room. Laura closed the door and placed her phone on the table. Caleb is using you, she said. I had expected her to defend the capacity rule or claim the email had been a misunderstanding. Her accusation stopped me. Using me for what? She opened a document on her phone and handed it across the table. It was a speech draft with Caleb's name at the top. The opening was almost identical to the approved essay. Halfway down the second page, the tone changed. My grandfather never needed a university degree to build a life worth respecting. He taught me that honest work matters more than other people's plans for you. Then came the line Laura had tried to keep me from seeing. That is why tomorrow morning I will decline my place at State University and accept a 4-year mechanical apprenticeship, whether my mother supports me or not. I read it again. Caleb had been accepted to State University in March. Laura had framed the acceptance letter and placed it on the mantel. Every conversation about graduation had included dorm assignments, orientation dates, or the laptop she intended to buy him. He had never told me about an apprenticeship. Where did you get this? I asked. He left it open on the family computer. Does the school know what he plans to announce? No. He submitted the safe version to the faculty and kept this one for you. You still had no right to tell them I was sick. If I told you the truth, you would have walked onto that stage just to prove nobody could tell you where you belonged. The accusation was close enough to something I might have done that it angered me more. You could have asked me. Would you have listened? We'll never know because you canceled me before I knew I'd been invited. Laura took back her phone. Caleb does not want a graduation speaker. He wants a witness who will make me look ashamed of you in front of 800 people. Are you? Her face changed. That is exactly the question he wants you to ask. My phone vibrated. Caleb had sent one message. Old garage, 11 o'clock, I'll show you what she didn't. I stood. Laura saw the message preview on my screen. Please don't promise him anything. I'm not promising either of you an answer. Dad, you both decided I would take your side before either of you asked me what I thought. I went back to the front office and told Mrs. Alvarez I would confirm the speech by 3 o'clock. She agreed to hold my place until then. At 10:58, I unlocked the side door of the garage I had sold to my former foreman when I retired. The new owner let me keep one workbench in the rear bay until I finished clearing it out. Caleb was waiting beside it with a large white envelope under his arm. He was 18, tall enough to look me directly in the eye, but that morning he kept shifting his weight like the boy who used to hide broken tools behind his back. Mom told you, he said. Your speech told me. He set the envelope on the bench. Inside was an acceptance packet from Northridge Mechanical Apprenticeship Program. The first page offered him a place beginning in September. The program combined paid work with evening classes and required a 4-year commitment. The signature line was blank. When were you planning to tell your parents? I asked. After graduation. After announcing it to the whole school? I knew Mom would shut it down if I told her first. So you nominated me without asking? I thought you'd understand. Understanding is not permission. Caleb pulled out his phone and showed me a message from Laura. You are not throwing away 4 years of work for a grease-stained backup plan because one math class frightened you. I read it twice. That's what she thinks of your life, he said. It says what she thinks of your decision. She called it grease-stained. And what did you say before she wrote this? His thumb moved toward the screen, then stopped. That doesn't matter. It mattered when you showed me only her message. I held out my hand. After a few seconds, he opened the full conversation. 2 messages earlier, Caleb had written, I'm not wasting 4 years and going into debt for a piece of paper just because you need to tell people your son went to state. Laura's reply was still unfair, but it was no longer the opening attack he had presented. Both of you know how to cut a sentence down until only the other person looks cruel, I said. Caleb took his phone back. Do you think I should go to college? I think I know almost nothing about the choice you're asking me to defend in public. You were a mechanic. That qualifies me to ask better questions, not to choose your life in 10 minutes. I opened the packet again. A business card was clipped to the inside cover. Greg Reeves, program coordinator. I called the number. Mr. Reeves answered on the third ring. I introduced myself and explained that Caleb was with me. He offered to meet us at the training center at 1:30. Caleb frowned when I ended the call. I have rehearsal at 3. Then we have 90 minutes to find out whether this is a life you want or an argument you want to win. He looked at the speaker pass clipped to my shirt. Are you going to give the speech? I'll decide after you stop treating my answer as your announcement. Northridge occupied two brick buildings behind a community college. There were no polished recruitment banners or dramatic machines waiting to make the decision look exciting. The first room contained 6 workstations, a row of safety glasses, and a whiteboard covered with attendance requirements. Greg Reeves met us at the entrance. He was a compact man in his 50s who shook Caleb's hand first and mine second. "Before we tour," he said, "I want to be clear about something. This is not the option for someone who wants to stop learning. Apprentices work 4 days and attend class 2 evenings each week. If you hate math at 10 in the morning, you will not love it more at 7 at night after a full shift." Caleb glanced at me. "I know there are classes. Knowing they exist and arranging your life around them are different things." Mr. Reeves showed us the training schedule. New apprentices reported at 5:45 a.m. The first 12 weeks were probationary. Attendance, safety, and written work mattered as much as mechanical ability. Nothing about the program looked like a backup plan. It was structured, demanding, and honest about the cost. That made Laura's dismissal less fair. It also made Caleb's graduation announcement more reckless. "How much experience does he have?" I asked. Mr. Reeves looked at Caleb. "You indicated about 100 hours of informal experience." "With me?" I asked. Caleb rubbed the back of his neck. "Over the years, you've helped me on weekends. Have you ever worked a full 8-hour shift?" "Not exactly." Mr. Reeves opened a file. "We offered him a job shadow day last month, but he was unable to attend. Mom scheduled the state university visit on the same day." "Did you ask to reschedule?" Caleb did not answer. Mr. Reeves gave him an application for the next shadow day 3 weeks away. He also explained that undecided applicants could complete a 6-week introductory placement before committing to the full program. "The place we offered is real," he said. "So is the commitment. My advice is not to accept it because you're angry, and not to reject it because someone else is frightened." He left us alone for a few minutes to speak with an instructor. On the last page of Caleb's packet, I found a section titled Community Mentor. My name, phone number, and 42 years of work history had been entered beneath it. The signature line was blank. "You listed me as your mentor. You are my mentor. A mentor normally knows he has accepted the job. I was going to ask after you saw the speech. After 800 people saw it too. You would have said yes. You keep using that sentence to avoid asking." Caleb pulled another page from the file. It was the personal statement he had submitted with his application. The first half described what he enjoyed about diagnosing a problem and making something function again. That part sounded like him. The final paragraph did not. "My grandfather spent his life in the trade and regrets pushing my mother toward college instead of allowing her to follow him. He taught me that a practical life should never be treated as a lesser one." I read the first sentence again. "When did I tell you I regretted pushing your mother toward college? You didn't have to say it. Then you put words under my name because you thought they would help your application. They're true. You don't know that." His frustration broke through. "Why are you defending her? She lied to keep you out of my graduation. And you volunteered my life, my name, and my supposed regrets without asking. I can be angry with your mother without pretending that makes you right." Mr. Reeves returned. I told him I would not sign the mentor section that day. Caleb's face tightened. "The deadline is Monday. Then use the weekend to decide whether you want my honest reference or my automatic approval." We left the training center at 2:22. Caleb refused my offer of a ride and called a friend. Before he walked away, he pointed at the red pass. "If you change the speech, Mom wins. If your only choices are defeating your mother or being defeated by her, neither of you is talking about your future." He shook his head. "You always turn everything into a lesson. You put me on the program to give one." He left without answering. My phone showed 2 missed calls from Laura and 1 message. "Please come to the house before you do to Caleb what you did to me." I called her immediately. "What did I do to you?" There was a pause. "You really don't remember?" "I remember helping you choose a college. You didn't help me choose." She asked me to meet her at my house. When I arrived, she was sitting at the kitchen table with a thin gray folder I had not seen in nearly 25 years. She opened it and removed a vocational cooperative form from her final year of high school. At 17, Laura had wanted to spend half her school day in an automotive technology program and work afternoons at my garage. I remembered calling it a distraction. I remembered telling her that her grades gave her better options. I did not remember the blank line at the bottom of the form, parent or guardian approval. You refused to sign it, she said. The shop was barely covering its bills that year. You didn't tell me that. You told me you had not spent your life standing on concrete so your daughter could do the same. I remembered the sentence as soon as she said it. At the time, it had sounded like love. I wanted her to have regular hours, health insurance, and the freedom to leave work without carrying every unfinished problem home in her head. But I had not offered her those facts and let her choose. I had withheld my signature. I thought I was opening a door for you, I said. You closed the one I was standing in. She placed Caleb's hidden speech beside the old form. Now he wants to stand on a stage and tell everyone you regret what you did. He wants to use your life to prove I'm ashamed of his choice. Are you ashamed of it? I visited North Ridge 3 weeks ago. That surprised me more than anything she had said that morning. You went there? I met Greg Reeves. I read the completion rates and the class schedule. It is a good program. Then why call it a grease-stained backup plan? Her jaw tightened. Because Caleb told me my degree was a piece of paper I bought to impress people. Because he failed one calculus exam and decided every classroom was an insult. Because he thinks an apprenticeship means he will never have to study again. Greg corrected that idea. Good. Caleb stopped letting me finish a sentence 2 weeks ago. I looked at the unsigned co-op form. So you decided to choose for him the way I chose for you. I decided not to let him humiliate me at graduation. She opened the complete draft of his speech and scrolled to a paragraph she had not shown me at the school. My mother came from a garage, but she has spent my entire life pretending success means getting as far away from it as possible. The line was cruel because it reduced Laura's life to the same simple story Caleb had created about mine. The faculty never approved this paragraph, she said. He planned to hand you the full version tonight and let you read it as if it were your own opinion. I would never read words I had not reviewed. Caleb believed you would, and you believed I would too. Laura looked down. Yes, that answer hurt, but I had earned part of it. I had spent years making quick judgments sound like principles. When Laura imagined me walking onto a stage to defend the dignity of my work, she did not imagine me stopping to ask whose dignity the speech would damage. My phone showed 2:51. I had 9 minutes to confirm my place on the program. There is no parents-only rule, is there? I asked. No. How many tickets did Caleb receive? 4. Michael and I have 2. The school reserved one for you as speaker. I still have the 4th. Who was it for? You, until I read the speech. So you did not just cancel my speech. You took away my seat. I was trying to stop a public fight by making sure only one side could enter the room. Laura folded her arms. What are you going to do? I called Mrs. Alvarez. This is Frank Dalton. I will be at sound check. Laura closed her eyes. I continued before she could speak. I will not deliver Caleb's draft. I will write my own remarks, and neither of you will see a surprise on that stage. After I ended the call, Laura stood. He will think you betrayed him. You thought I would betray you. Both of you need to stop deciding what I will do before I do it. What are you going to say? Come to the sound check at 4:45 and hear it before the audience does. Caleb won't come. Ask him. He isn't answering me. Then do not ask me to carry the message. Send it yourself and let him choose. For the first time that day, Laura did not argue. I spent the next hour at my kitchen table with 3 documents in front of me: Caleb's speech, Laura's unsigned co-op form, and my red speaker pass. Each document represented a decision made under somebody else's name. Caleb had written my regrets for me. Laura had invented a health problem to cancel me. 25 years earlier, I had left a signature blank so my daughter could not choose a path that frightened me. I tore 3 pages from a legal pad before I found an opening that did not sound like a verdict. At 4:38, I entered the empty auditorium through the north doors. Laura was already seated in the front row. The 4th graduation ticket rested on the chair beside her. Caleb was not there. Principal Henderson met me at the lectern and checked the length of my new remarks. Mrs. Alvarez adjusted the microphone, then asked whether the family had resolved the content problem. Not yet, I said, but there will be no private announcement from this stage. At 4:47, the side door opened. Caleb walked in carrying the apprenticeship packet. He did not sit beside his mother. He remained at the end of the aisle. Mrs. Alvarez said you changed the speech, he said. I wrote my speech. Then why are you on the program under the title of my essay? Because the essay invited me. It did not give you ownership of my mouth. His eyes moved to Laura. She got to you. Northridge got to me. So did the application where you named me as a mentor without asking. I held up the old co-op form. And this got to me. Laura stared at the blank signature line. Caleb walked closer. What is it? Proof that your mother is not imagining everything she thinks I did. I told him how Laura had wanted to work at the garage and how I had refused to sign. I did not explain that the shop was struggling until after I admitted the part that mattered. I believed I was protecting her, I said, but I protected her by removing her choice. That is what she did to me this morning, and it is what you tried to do by putting your announcement in my speech. Caleb looked at his mother. You wanted to be a mechanic? I wanted the chance to find out, Laura said. You never told me. Because every time we discussed your future, you treated mine as evidence that I only care about appearances. You framed my university letter before I even accepted. And you submitted Grandpa's name before he accepted. The two of them fell silent. I placed the apprenticeship packet on the edge of the stage. Has either decision actually been made? I asked. Caleb looked down. Northridge needs my signature Monday. Have you declined State University? Not yet. I turned to Laura. Has the university deposit been paid? It is due next Friday. Then both of you created a final battle over two unsigned forms. Laura sat back. Caleb opened his packet but did not touch the signature line. If I don't announce it tonight, she'll spend the whole weekend changing my mind. And if you announce it in front of 800 people, you never have to admit that you are still unsure. His head lifted. I'm not unsure. What time does the North Ridge shift begin? 5:45. How many nights of class? 2. What did Greg say about your mentor section? Caleb glanced at the empty signature line. I continued. What part of the work do you enjoy enough to do when nobody is angry with your mother? He opened his mouth, then stopped. Finally, he said, I like finding the reason something failed. I like when there is a problem you can test instead of people telling you what they think you should be. That was the first answer he had given all day that did not mention Laura or me. Good, I said. That is a reason to explore the trade. It is not yet a reason to make a 4-year commitment tonight. Laura leaned forward. I can support the shadow day. Caleb gave her a skeptical look. Without calling Greg afterward? She understood the question. Without changing it, canceling it, or adding another appointment, you handle it. And state? We ask about deferring enrollment while you test the apprenticeship. We ask, we do not assume. Caleb looked at me. Is that what you think I should do? I think it is what you should investigate. The decision still belongs to you. He sat in the front row, leaving one empty chair between himself and Laura. Let me hear the speech. I read it to an audience of 2. When I finished, Caleb was disappointed. Laura was crying quietly. Neither reaction meant I had chosen the wrong words. You don't announce Northridge, Caleb said. No. You tell everyone you stopped Mom from doing what she wanted. Only if she gives me permission. Laura wiped her cheek. You have it. Caleb turned toward her. Why? Because I spent years telling myself Dad opened every door for me. It was easier than admitting I still resented the one he closed. Then she looked at me. But if you say it publicly, you say the rest too. You were afraid. You were not ashamed of the work. Agreed. Caleb tapped the apprenticeship packet against his knee. And my part? Your part is that you nominated me because my life mattered to you. That is true. The private fight stays private. He considered it until Principal Henderson warned us the doors would open in 20 minutes. Caleb stood. Okay. It was not forgiveness or agreement. It was consent, which was exactly what all 3 of us had been skipping. At 6:37, I stood behind the curtain as the student speaker finished her remarks. The red pass was still clipped inside my jacket. Principal Henderson introduced me, and I walked to the lectern. From the stage, I could see Laura and her husband Michael seated near the center aisle. The empty fourth seat was no longer empty. Laura had placed my program there. Caleb sat with his class in the front section. I began. For 42 years, people brought me machines that were making the wrong sound, using too much fuel, or refusing to move at all. Most people arrived certain they already knew which part had failed. My first job was not to agree with them. It was to listen long enough to discover whether the problem they named was the problem they actually had. Families are harder than machines. We make noise before anyone asks a question. We replace parts that were never broken, and sometimes we become so determined to produce the right future for someone we love that we forget the future belongs to them. When my daughter was 17, she asked me to sign a form that would let her study the trade I knew. I refused. I had spent years worrying about bills, missed weekends, and what difficult work can ask from a body over time. I wanted an easier road for her. But instead of telling her the cost and trusting her to think, I chose the road. I called that protection. She experienced it as a closed door. She was right. Today, many of you are being asked what comes next: college, training, work, service, a year to learn what question you are actually trying to answer. No path earns dignity from its name. A university is not a guarantee of wisdom. A trade is not an escape from studying. Work with your hands is not smaller than work done at a desk, and work at a desk is not a betrayal of where you came from. The honest choice is the one you investigate fully, accept the cost of, and make without turning another person into the enemy your future must defeat. Parents and grandparents, we have a difficult job too. We can offer experience, we can name the risks. We can refuse to lie about what a choice requires, but if fear makes us remove every option we would not choose ourselves, that is not guidance. It is control wearing a familiar face. Caleb nominated me because he believed my working life had something worth teaching. He was right about that, although perhaps not in the way either of us expected. My life does not prove that one path is best. It proves that a decision deserves honest facts, real effort, and the freedom to belong to the person who must live with it. Graduation is not the day every uncertainty disappears. It is the day you become responsible for asking better questions. Whatever comes next, make the choice under your own name and give the people who love you the chance to hear it before the rest of the world does. I stepped away from the microphone. The applause was warm, but I did not measure the success of the speech by its volume. I looked at Caleb. He was not smiling. He was listening. After the ceremony, families crowded the lobby. Laura found me near the north entrance and handed me the fourth ticket. I owe you the truth about this, she said. There was always a seat. I know. I am sorry I took it away. I am sorry I left your form unsigned. She looked at the old document folded inside my program. I built a good life, Dad. I know. That does not make the way you chose it for me right. I know that too. Caleb approached with his diploma cover under one arm and the Northridge packet under the other. Everyone thinks you were talking about them, he said. That is usually how a speech survives. He handed me the mentor page. Will you sign after the shadow day? If I can honestly recommend you after seeing you work a full shift. And if you can't, I will tell you before I tell anyone else. He nodded. Laura did not ask to read the page. Caleb did not ask her to approve it in the lobby. For that evening, leaving the line blank was progress. 3 weeks later, Caleb reported to North Ridge at 5:45 in the morning. I arrived 10 minutes earlier, not as his defender or his automatic mentor, but as the observer he had finally asked me to be. The work was harder than he expected. By lunch, he had discovered that diagnosis required more math, documentation, and patience than the graduation argument had allowed. He also stayed focused longer than I had ever seen him in a classroom. Laura arrived at 4 o'clock after the shift ended. She did not bring a university brochure. She asked Caleb what had surprised him. He told her the truth. I liked it, he said, but I'm not ready to sign 4 years on Monday. Then what are you ready to do, she asked. Apply for the 6-week introductory placement and ask state about a deferral instead of rejecting it because I'm angry. Laura looked relieved, but she did not celebrate as if her preferred option had won. I can live with asking, she said. So could I. I signed the section confirming that I would mentor him during the introductory placement. I did not sign the 4-year commitment. That signature remained his. The red speaker pass now hangs above my old workbench. For a while, I thought the most important word on it was speaker. It wasn't. The important part was the name printed above it, my name. Caleb had tried to use it to win an argument. Laura had tried to remove it to prevent one. Years earlier, I had withheld it from a form so I could choose for her. At graduation, I finally used my name for the one thing it should have controlled all along, my own answer.